On November 5, 1605, an explosion meant to erase England's government was stopped in the dark underbelly of Parliament. History remembers Guy Fawkes as the shadowy mastermind who almost blew up the king, but history is profoundly wrong. Fawkes was merely a mercenary hired for his technical skills, executing a far grander scheme orchestrated by a far more dangerous man. To understand the conspiracy, one must step back into the brutal religious tyranny of Jacobean England. Following the death of Queen Elizabeth, Catholic citizens hoped King James I would bring relief from crippling fines and persecution. Instead, James cracked down even harder, forcing devout families into hiding and turning their faith into a treasonous crime punishable by death. Desperation bred rebellion, and out of the shadows stepped Robert Catesby. Tall, charismatic, and fiercely radicalized by years of state oppression, Catesby was the true brain behind the plot. He possessed an incredible ability to charm wealthy gentlemen and persuade them to finance a bloody revolution that would alter the course of the English monarchy forever. In May 1604, Catesby gathered a tiny inner circle at a secluded inn called the Duck and Drake. Behind locked doors, 5 men swore a solemn oath on a prayer book to destroy the government. They did not just want revenge. They aimed to spark a full-scale Catholic uprising and install a puppet queen on the throne. The plotters needed a soldier with practical knowledge of explosives, which led them to Flanders. There they recruited Guy Fawkes, a mercenary who had spent a decade fighting for the Spanish army. Fawkes was brave, deeply committed, and possessed the precise military expertise required to handle massive quantities of volatile black powder without blowing himself up. The conspirators hit strategic luck when they secured a lease on a cellar directly beneath the House of Lords. Originally used to store firewood and coal, this damp vault sat directly under the exact spot where the king, his ministers, and Parliament would assemble for the grand opening session in November of 1605. Under the cover of pitch-black nights, the conspirators began moving their deadly cargo across the River Thames. 36 heavy wooden barrels containing over 2 tons of volatile gunpowder were secretly hauled into the cellar. Hidden beneath piles of innocent firewood, the explosive potential was massive enough to reduce the entire Parliament complex completely to dust. Yet as the conspirators worked, they were unaware of the vast intelligence apparatus watching England. Robert Cecil, the king's brilliant first minister and master spy, maintained an intricate web of informants extending across Europe. Cecil thrived on uncovering plots, often allowing conspiracies to mature so he could destroy them with maximum political impact for the crown. 10 days before the planned explosion, a mysterious anonymous letter arrived at the house of Lord Monteagle, a prominent Catholic nobleman. Delivered by an unknown messenger in the dead of night, the letter warned Monteagle to avoid Parliament's opening ceremony, cryptically hinting that God and man had concurred to punish the wickedness of the present time. Monteagle immediately took this cryptic warning straight to Robert Cecil, sparking centuries of intense historical debate. Modern historians often question whether Cecil already knew about the plot through his vast spy network and forged or manipulated the letter himself. Was the entire leak a carefully engineered political trap designed to turn the public against Catholics forever? When Catesby learned about the intercepted letter, immediate panic rippled through the conspirators. They strongly suspected a traitor among their inner circle, yet Catesby stubbornly refused to abandon the plot. Believing the royal authorities had dismissed the warning as a hoax, he made the fateful decision to proceed, leaving Fawkes in the dark cellar to ignite the fuse. On the night of November 4th, the royal guards finally made their move. Led by the magistrate, searchers entered the cellar under Parliament just hours before the king's arrival. Stepping through the gloom, they spotted a tall man dressed in boots and a cloak, guarding a massive pile of firewood stacked against the stone walls. The guards restrained the man, who identified himself under the alias John Johnson. A quick search revealed pocket matches, touchwood, and a pocket watch to time the detonation. Hidden beneath the timber lay 36 barrels of gunpowder. Fawkes had been caught red-handed, but despite immediate interrogation, he refused to reveal the names of his co-conspirators. News of Fawkes' capture spread rapidly, triggering panic among the remaining plotters. Catesby and his core group fled London, riding hard on horseback through rain and mud toward the Midlands. They hoped to spark a desperate countrywide Catholic rebellion, but everywhere they sought shelter, terrified local noblemen closed their gates and turned them away. Back in London, Guy Fawkes was transferred to the dreaded Tower of London under explicit orders from King James to use torture. Bound to the rack, Fawkes endured days of excruciating agony. His spirit eventually broke, and he signed a written confession with a barely legible signature, giving the state the names they desperately needed. The fleeing conspirators made their final stand at Holbeach House in Staffordshire. Exhausted, surrounded, and accidentally exploding some of their own damp gunpowder while trying to dry it by the fire, they knew the end was near. The sheriff of Warwickshire arrived with over 200 armed men, completely encircling the trapped rebels. Refusing to surrender, Catesby and his men rushed outside into a hail of musket fire. A single musket ball passed through both Catesby and his closest ally. As he lay dying in the dirt, Catesby crawled back inside the house, clutching an image of the Virgin Mary, taking his ultimate secrets to the grave. The surviving conspirators, including a battered Guy Fawkes, were brought to trial at Westminster Hall in January 1606. The state orchestrated a theatrical spectacle designed to showcase divine royal judgment. Unsurprisingly, all 8 survivors were found guilty of high treason and sentenced to the most horrific execution known to English law. At Old Palace Yard, the public executions took place before a roaring crowd. When Fawkes climbed the ladder to the gallows, he leapt off early, breaking his neck instantly and avoiding the excruciating agony of being drawn and quartered alive. Even in death, his defiant act robbed the crown of its ultimate public torture spectacle. Following the plot's failure, Parliament passed the Observance of 5th November Act, ordering annual celebrations to give thanks for the king's miraculous preservation. Effigies were burned on massive bonfires across the kingdom. Over centuries, Guy Fawkes evolved into the ultimate villain of the event, while the true mastermind, Robert Catesby, gradually vanished into relative historical obscurity. Why did history focus so heavily on Fawkes instead of Catesby? The state actively promoted Fawkes as the face of evil because he was caught directly with the powder, providing unambiguous visual proof. By concentrating public anger on a single foreign mercenary, the Crown successfully obscured the complex political and religious grievances driving English nobility. Furthermore, evidence suggests Lord Salisbury used the gunpowder plot to engineer a massive political victory. By allowing the plot to advance almost to completion, Salisbury consolidated King James' political power, completely eliminated Catholic influence at court for generations, and secured massive long-term funding for the Crown's intelligence service, turning a near catastrophe into absolute state control. In a bizarre twist of fate, the image of Guy Fawkes transformed centuries later from a villainous traitor into a global symbol of anti-authoritarian resistance. Made famous by the iconic stylized mask, his memory now represents popular rebellion against state overreach worldwide, proving that government power cannot entirely dictate how future generations remember political defiance. The gunpowder plot was neither a simple terrorist act nor a simple myth, but a tragic outcome of ruthless state tyranny, desperate radicalization, and masterclass political manipulation. The conspirators died for their cause, yet the fundamental questions they raised about state control and resistance continue to echo through history, asking us who truly pulls the strings.